Okay, greetings all. Let's take a look at doing some selections in Scalar. I'm going to clear the state, just take us back to default. It's pretty much for beginners, but there could be a tip or two in here for you experienced users. It's all about selecting chords for various reasons. So let's grab some chords. Just grab C major scale here. All right, that's a little quick. We'll slow that down. Chord duration, right now I run it at 1/2 beat because I do a lot of play quantize type playing, but we'll slow it down just a little bit. That's fine. Okay, so first basics. Everybody knows, not everybody, but just lasso. Drag, cross, lasso. You want to start within the gray box, or within the section, I should say, and drag. If you reverse, come back across the unselect. If they are selected, they have a gold bar around them or yellow bar. Forever, I would always right mouse click and unselect, when in fact all I needed to do was just click over here. So that might be a tip. Actually click anywhere outside the chords. You can also click right between, right? So if you right mouse click between, you get a select all option. Now, one thing that's a little bit weird is that in section B, if you do that, right mouse click, you have to go all the way over here to do the select all versus any of the other areas. So for example, bring some chords up here and just bring this guy up. Now if I right mouse click on that, then I get the select all right at my mouse tip where I would expect it. Okay. Again, if I'm down here in section B, if I right mouse click between the chords or in the gray area, I have to move all the way over here, so half the time it's easier just to grab that, right? Okay, so that's your basic lasso and selecting. Well, what happens if I want to grab, for example, chords from the upper track and the lower track? Let's say I want these three, and then I want that guy down there, right? So if I go down here, drag, well, it just deselects up here, right? Again, drag, deselects, same thing down here, deselects. I can't go across, right? So it doesn't help me. But what I can do now is I can just hold my control key down. A control key, like many Windows applications, give you access to non-contiguous ranges of selection, right? So in this case, I'll grab these three and I'll hold my control key down and I'll grab those three, right? First thing you'll notice, aside from them being selected across sections, is I also get a sequencing of the order in which I selected the chords, starting with this little directional arrowheads, which is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now if I click another chord, I can audition these chords. Let's say I want to grab this C sharp, hold my control key down. Now I've added a 7th chord, and maybe I want to go back down here and pick up this E major. So now I've got a number of chords selected. They're sequenced, so I know what the order that they are. And I can just drag any one of them down to a pattern, and I'll get them in the order I selected them. Now this works between patterns. If I want to drag out to the DAW, if I want to drag it to your desktop, drag and drop of the chords in their selected order works that way. Now, one of the things that's particularly handy, clear this guy, with that selection, the way that selection works, is I can begin to build patterns without having to bring them all the way down here to try them out. So for example, let's say I know I want to start with an E major. Okay, so I'll hold my control key down and I'll grab that guy. So it's selected. Now I can audition other chords to see what I might want to do after that E major. Maybe I'll do the G minor, hold my control key down, select it. So I can continue to audition chords and the selection stays intact. So now maybe I want to grab a couple from up here. All right, so now, all right, I don't like that guy. I can hold my control key, deselect, and maybe I want this one instead. So now I've got something. All right, that'll work, sounds like a hit. Now I can just drag any of them in. Before I do that though, right now you'll see that I'm playing them based on the number, because that's one of the handy things about the numbers, it reminds me of my sequence. But now that I've got multiple ones selected, I can also do preview selected chords. as you see, it played the chords in the order that they were selected. So let's try another one. Let's do this guy down here, and we'll just kind of bounce up and down between the sections. Preview selected. Now if I drag any one of them down, you'll notice C sharp, G sharp. Oh, by the way, that sustain is a substantial instrument. Some people may have thought it was a stuck MIDI note. It's not. It's the way the substantial instrument works. So that gives you a quick look at a couple lasso tricks. Oh, speaking of lasso, let's do this. Let's add another pattern. All right, add a new pattern. Give us a couple patterns. So let's say I wanted to play these guys all together, right? Play them in sequence. I have to have both patterns selected. So simple as just dragging it across both. Now it doesn't work the same way that the other one in terms of unselecting. In this case, you have to say unselect all patterns, okay, to get them loose. Same thing in the pad, right? I can select multiple patterns over here. I only have 2 now, but I can select multiple, and then that has them all bound across my MIDI device. This note right here is that missing note, and this note is not bound to a chord because these chords are empty. So unselect, and we're good to go. Oh, one other thing in Lasso is one of the nice things about it. Let's say I want to take these chords out of here. Okay, and I want to play this chord up the scale, or this pattern up the scale, but then I want to play it back down the scale, right? What would I do? I'd typically create another pattern, and I'd start dragging in reverse order. Well, fortunately, the Control key helps us in that regard. So if I hold my Control key down and swipe or lasso from right to left, you'll now see that it pays attention to my selection order that way, right? So a very handy way to pretty much grab chords from any direction in the order that you want them. So I want to show you something else here real quick. Go into Chord will do it for us. And I'm going to take these chords and I'm going to drag and select them all, and I'm going to just drag outside scalar, drag back in without dropping, and it's going to trigger a detect in scalar, and scalar is going to detect those MIDI notes. But because we have a performance attached to it, those MIDI notes also generated some of the mysterious individual notes that really can't do a whole lot with, right? You can't move them, you can't copy them, you can't move them around. There's some other strategies you can use. Maybe that's for another video. Typically, all you can do is just right mouse click and remove to get rid of them. Well, if you've got a lot of chords up here, they can, and depending upon the pattern and how you bring things in, you could end up with a bunch of notes, and you got a lot of clicking and grabbing, clicking and removing. Here's where our click between, right mouse click between the chords gives us a new option, and that is select all notes. Right, so now we can select all notes, remove them, and good to go. All right, I think that is probably, that's probably everything. So thanks a lot. Leave comments if you have any other questions you'd like to learn a little bit more about, and see you next time.